Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is where you are. Hello everybody, it is Duckphil here with a PvZ that is taken from the Sea Masters Cup. I am going to be using a, well, sort of an overlay in progress. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. Of course, if you do have any suggestions for overlays that you might want to see, or sort of changes to the overlay you might like to see, please feel free to post in the comments of this video, or of course you can email me or tweet me, all those kind of cool things. Would be happy to hear some feedback on what you would like to see in a custom UI for video watching. Of course, I think most people like a very minimalistic style. So for the moment, the bottom part of the console bit down the in the UI has been removed for now. But anyway, let's talk about the players that we've got in this game. As I said, this is from the Sea Masters Cup last week, and unfortunately, we had some internet issues, but well, it wasn't what you would normally think. It wasn't an issue with my connection itself. It was with an issue, a certain person who decided that, you know, dropping a stream would be kind of cool. Anyway, let's talk about who we've got down at the bottom left-hand side. This is part of a best of 3, and this was game number 1. I won't be casting games 2 and 3 because they were part of the live stream. So if you want to look at the VODs, you can either jump onto my Twitch channel. It is twitch.tv/DuckphilLol, or you can have a look at there is a news flash that I posted a little while ago just of the Sea Masters Cup. Have a look at that if you want to see what happened in the rest of the series. Down in the bottom left hand side here, playing for Team Flash, it is Blysk. He is a really decent Protoss player. He's been, well, through the tournament, I believe he did this very unorthodox style of play. Well, not, I suppose it's not unorthodox as it used to be, but the gateway in base with the double gas behind it, getting it before the cybernetics core. So going for, you know, a little bit of a different style here, just making sure that he has that, he can get to his tech a lot faster than you would normally see with a Forge Fast expand. So that is how Blysk decided to play out this particular series. And his opponent down on the bottom right-hand side as our Blue Zerg player. He's currently playing for xGKing. He was previously part of Startail, that is right, Startail, over in Korea, but now he lives here in Australia. It is King Kong. And we'll see what he gets up to here with a quick expansion going down from him. Has a bit of gas on the way. Going to be getting his link speed pretty quickly, I would assume. And we'll see how he reacts to what he scouts out from his opponent very soon. Of course, he will be able to see that the Cyber is in base and already over halfway done. In fact, it is now finishing up. So he'll be aware that there is going to be some quick tech here. As a Zerg player, you see that quick Cyber and you think, well, that means that I cannot take this third base as quickly as I would like to. I definitely cannot take this base as quickly as you would like to, because it is a much further away base from where you would like to try and defend and these kinds of things. Normally what players will do is they will pick up their speed pretty quickly, and once they've gotten that around about, you know, a quarter of the way done or so, then they'll look towards taking an expansion. I would assume that King Kong is going to look to take that one there. As I said, this one a little bit further away, so we'll wait and see what Blysk is up to here. Has a sentry that's come out already, and of course a mothership core as well. With that extra little bit of gas, it does allow you to get these first 2 units out, and of course the sentry is really good at defending just because of the simple fact you throw down a force field and bam, nothing can get up the ramp, so you're all nice and tight there in the base. So we'll see. It looks like there are a few lings about to poke across the map, and it is going to be what looks to be a DT play coming out of Blysk. Of course, with the recently we got to see MVP Tails using the well, everyone's calling it the Tails DT drop, but I've seen White using the exact same thing for a long time now. Anyway, it looks as if he will go for a DT play here. The Nexus going down at the natural, and of course the 2 gateways here as well. But we'll see. It looks like he should be able to get those DTs out in time. Of course, with the changes to the Dark Shrine, meaning in that it only costs 150 now. It is a lot cheaper to get the DT out and you know, get it across the map as quickly as possible. Normally, in your standard sort of DT play, you would see them come out at around about sort of 6 to 7 minutes or so, and then well, in fact, King Kong might actually scout this out, gets a ling inside, and he will probably, yep, he's going to see the Dark Shrine there, catches that little building just over there. He's even going to have a poke away at that with the first ling that got inside. So I was going to say the normal DT timing sort of used to come out at around about the, I believe it was about the 8.5 minute mark or 9 minutes, depending on how quickly you actually wanted to get it rolling. But now, of course, in Heart of the Swarm, comes out a little bit quicker because you don't need as much gas to get it started. As we can see here, the Dark Shrine over halfway done, meaning that is going to come out at around about the sort of the 7:30 to just close to the top of the 8-minute mark there, and we'll see what kind of damage he is able to get done. Of course, the Zerg players no longer need to get an evolution chamber to get a spore crawler out, and as we can see at the front door, King Kong is going to throw up a couple of spore crawlers and also a spine as well. Looks like with 2 spore crawlers here, he's actually going to move one of them down here because he is establishing that new hatchery at the 3rd base. So looks as if he will, yep, just move that down there. Got a little bit of safety around this area here at the 3rd base so that if needed, if the DTs come across and try and deny that 3rd, he will be able to get some damage on that. The Mothership Core just going to poke through and see what, see what's going on inside this base. Of course, may be able to grab a drone, but highly unlikely that that Mothership Core will be able to do too much there. But, well, in fact, actually, throws down a Time Warp, slows down the income just a tiny bit. It's nothing insane or nothing, that would cause you to lose a game or anything like that, but it is something which some players will throw out there from time to time just to sort of put a little issue in the income there for their opposing player. Looks like the DTs are going to get started here. We've got 1, we've got 2. They're going to have to march their way across the map. It is a very long way. I'm a bit surprised that Blisk didn't actually throw down a proxy pylon. It's very common to see a proxy pylon sort of around these regions or somewhere around here. Of course, it does allow you to whoop those DTs in a little bit faster than they would normally be, and of course that means that you can get in and get some more damage done. But King Kong now not afraid of the DTs. He's got the Queen down at the 3rd base, a spore crawler there for detection, of course a spore and a spine at the front door of the natural, and now up to 61 drones. So looks like we'll have a little bit of a push here from Blisk. He's moving out with a couple of sentries, but actually loses one of them in the process. The DTs will have to come across. This is going to be a very interesting push. Blisk now moving forward with a warp prism just here. Looks like this is going to go into the main base here. It will be seen by King Kong. We'll be surprised if he doesn't get some sort of defense prepared for that, but it looks like the attack is going to proceed into the natural, the 3rd base here as well. A Time Warp thrown down, going to catch out some of those roaches possibly, but the drones now come along to get some damage done as well. But inside the main, more Zealots and DTs in here, hacking apart some of the drones that have not been able to escape. And King Kong has actually lost quite a few of his drones here. 17 workers killed in total. Not too bad at all by the Protoss player from Flash. And now we'll see. Will he be able to get rid of these Zealots here? They're just going to continually poke away. The DT tries to slip away in the night, but the Overseer, always watching, was able to scout that out and kept an eye on that DT. The 2 Zealots that are inside the main mineral line now just poking away at the Spine Crawler, and this is a point. He's gotten 17 worker kills, and that's actually a pretty decent amount. I'm pretty impressed that he was able to do that, given that his opponent did scout out exactly what was happening, and for all intents and purposes was prepared. It was just unfortunate that King Kong was not prepared inside the main base. So the Observer shot down by the Queen here. Of course, her ranged attacks doing that 10 damage there, not too bad at all. Blisk going to establish the 3rd base and get a little bit of tech going back at home. So he's done a pretty decent amount of damage. Like a lot of people will say, unless you pretty much kill the Zerg, then your DT play was not effectual. But of course, if you take apart 17 drones, that's 17 drones that they need to rebuild. And it also means that that's 17 fighting units, which they are not going to be able to throw into a battle like this. Could you imagine if there were a few more roaches in this force? They would have actually been able to get some damage done. Maybe even if there were some lings that were thrown in with these roaches, we may have seen that battle go the way of King Kong. Of course, if he can get us around on some of these units, then given that there are a very low count of Zealots in this force, he may have been able to win that fight. But Blisk, secure for now. We're going to establish a little bit of a wall here up at the top side of the 3rd base here. He's not going to take this one just because it's perhaps a little bit more exposed here. Wants to try and expand perhaps a little bit further away from his Zerg opponent so that any attacks that come across from King Kong aren't as quick as they would normally be. Of course, those roaches, if they were to just come directly in here, it is a much quicker path than that would be to go to either come through the front door of the 3rd here or come down in the back as well. And King Kong, top level play here, here. You don't really think of this as too much of an issue here, but putting down that creep means that Blisk is not able to fully wall off this this ramp here, and that means that the Roaches will be able to get a decent amount of position here, and in fact they do, just going straight in on that cannon there, getting a nice amount of damage done. It looks like a Phoenix just going to scout through, it's going to pick up what's going on, but the Roaches, meanwhile, are able to take apart one of the cannons, not really getting too much more done after that, though. So King Kong feeling pretty comfortable right now, up at 74 drones, not doing too bad at all. A fourth hatchery going up. We'll probably expect a... Oh, there it is already. The macro hatch is already inside the natural here, adding a few extra larvae there to the production queue. And we'll see what he's going to do now. It looks like we will have 11 mutas now popping out for our Zerg player from xGKing. He will be continuing to harass at the third base of Blisk here. Blisk aware of those Roaches, but he will be right now just marching straight in, going to take down that cannon. The two cannons that were in construction there are not actually getting anything done. With a force field at the back, he may be able to snipe off the Roaches, but not quick enough. Unfortunately for Blisk, he was not able to get anything there, but it looks like DTs have gotten inside the natural base of King Kong. No detection here at all. Where did those spore crawlers go? It looks like we lost them. One of the DTs does follow down the wrong path there, but the Spire has now been taken down. But as we can see, the few mutas that did get out, there's around about 11 of those going to poke inside the main base of Blisk. But Blisk has a couple of cannons there, has some stalkers there with them as well. And it looks like he will be able to clean the mutas up for the most part, but in fact, King Kong does stick around for a short time and actually is going to dispose of some of these units. No upgrades on the mutas, but of course, the stalkers do have 101. The DT's continuing to go to work inside the natural base. King Kong attacking at the third as well. He's just trying to keep the pressure on his opponent. I'm not sure how this is going. Perhaps he is not even aware that those DTs are there, but yes, finally, he is able to clean them up. And this is where we actually had some issues with King Kong and Blisk starting to lag a little bit. This game not only got quite bad for myself and Claymores, the other caster that we had, but also for some of the players. Blisk was in a little bit of trouble there. He had so much lag going on, and as you can see, yeah, we had quite a long pause for a while there while we tried to fix it up. But as we can see, moving into the mid to late game now, we can see that that Blisk is able to get his Colossi out. Of course, these excellent units are dealing with large ground forces, but will he be able to deal with the mutas up in the sky? There isn't a huge total of the mutas. There's only 12, given the fact that the Spire did go down quite quickly, and Blisk is actually keeping up with the supply count right now. Interesting to see that that Blisk is able to just to sort of stay even with the Zerg player right now. Of course, King Kong not able to produce any more mutas is going to have a little bit of trouble getting out some of those sort of trading forces. As you can see here, just going back into the main, going to trade back some of those units there, and I'll try and sort of get the text out of the way. Unfortunately, I don't have the text removal tool is no longer available for replays, so I couldn't even remove that stuff. But as we can see, Blisk going to push forward. He is, as we said, having a bit of lag here, so keep that in mind when we're watching these, because the micro may go a little bit astray. But Blisk now pushing forward. The third base is pretty much undefended right now. King Kong trying to attack into the third base of Blisk. He is going to go around the long way. Finally gets in, doesn't want to deal with those cannons at the front there. Just says, alright, I'm going to go down this way and come through into the third there. But Blisk is already doing his own damage at the third base of King Kong. He is going to try and establish a nexus at the fourth as well, but King Kong is going to lose quite a lot of his main sort of structures here. We've got the two hatcheries inside the natural. A couple of mutas going to fly by and go down straight away. It looks like of course, the lair, a second spire, the spawning pool, all the important buildings pretty much are inside the natural and the main, and now under very, very high threat right now. The two hatcheries go down. A couple of mutas are going to pop out to try and see what they can do, but unfortunately there is not enough, and with an observer here to scout out those drones, despite their burrowing, are not going to stick around too long. But the mutas still continue to harass for King Kong. He's up to a total of 22 mutas out on the map. It probably would have been a little bit higher, but unfortunately a few of them got sniped off very quickly. The Roaches over at the third base continue to do damage, not effective damage though, given that the probes have not been torn apart just yet. And speaking of which, 64 drones have been killed by Blisk right now, 27 probes by King Kong, and in fact King Kong has been able to get in and get a decent amount of damage done inside the main. Blisk's own tech is now under threat with the Dark Giant in a little bit of trouble. The mutas still don't have any upgrades. The Spire still pulsating away back at home is trying to get that +1 to the air weapons out, but it is still a little bit further behind, as we can see on the production tab there. And Blisk doing a good job defending, has forced King Kong out of the main base, out of the natural, and as we can see, he is going to have a little bit of a problem down here at his third base, but it looks like the Mutas will not get too far. The Planetary Nexus Cannon of Doom and Gloom has been able to clean that up. A few more Mutas are also inside the main base. So King Kong, continuing on with all of this damage, has been able to get a pretty sizable amount of damage done here. The main thing that he's been able to do is hold Blisk up. He's been able to hold him up. Of course, as we can see, Blisk's 4th base is only just coming into effect now, and King Kong was able to get his +1 weapons out for those Mutas. He was able to re-establish this base just across to the side here, has set up a Spinecrawler wall, and the top base along here has also been set up. So while the drone count is not looking very pretty right now for King Kong, he does have this large Mutalist force out on the map right now, 33 with +1 on their upgrades. We'll see what they are able to do. Of course, a very vulnerable point right now is Blisk's 4th base. If King Kong is able to swoop through and go into that base, he should be able to clean up pretty much everything here. There is almost no defense apart from the 3 cannons just across to the side here, but they're in a little bit of an awkward spot. Normally you would sort of see the cannons just in these positions over here, but now the Mutas just easily sweep through. Blisk forced to separate his forces, some of the Stalkers coming back, the rest going with the remaining army on the ground, a pretty heavy Robo army build here. We've got Immortals, we've got Colossi, and of course a few Sentries there as well, but the Mutas, will they be too many for the Stalkers to defend? It looks like with a couple of cannons there, Blisk may... well, no, Blisk is just going to lose just about everything there, but the remaining Stalkers now coming across, 103 on their upgrades. They were able to clean the Mutas up pretty quickly there, and now with this approach angle from Blisk's main force, he is able to come through to the 3rd base and should be able to tear this apart. Now, the Spinecrawlers, of course, given that they were sort of mainly situated around this area, going to have a very hard time trying to attack back into the Colossi over here, but the Mutas now floating across will be able to clean up the rest of the forces. Only a few Stalkers left on the ground, and that is pretty much it. This is where we had another bit of a lag problem here, and in fact, I think this is where I dropped down, unfortunately. But the Colossi, the Robo units there have now been taken down. The Stalkers have come back across the map now, and are able to dispose of some of the Mutas, but the Muta count still up at 28. A ridiculously large Muta count right now, but King Kong has virtually no mining. The hatchery at the natural base is now under threat. The 2 Immortals trying to poke away. Should be able to kill... oh no, too many Mutas now. Too many Mutas for those Immortals there, and they do go down. So Blisk is sitting in a situation of 67 supply, mostly sitting in Stalkers at this point. 15 Stalkers, 37 probes, and that is pretty much it for the Protoss player right now. It looks as if a couple of random units about the map have been trying to get a little bit of damage done, but not able to get anything themselves. Of course, the Muta count still growing just a little bit, adding in a couple more there. The Spire is still alive back inside the main base, and King Kong, if he can just keep the Muta Ball alive and keep it mobile around the map, wanting to keep Blisk back in his base, then he certainly can look to take this game, because I think it is looking to go the way of Blisk, and I think what we'll see very soon is Blisk moving towards the Templar tech. It is about time as well. There he is, throws down the Templar Archives, and we'll see how he goes. Getting out the Templar, of course, the Archon's an excellent unit to have when you are dealing with a big Mutaball that's trying to base trade. And King Kong going to try and float through, picks up the Cyber Core that's just down to the side here. A very big pickup for him. Means no more Stalkers. Means that we will have to invest another 150 in that Cyber Core so that Blisk can actually get that up and running again, and the Mutas just simply jet out of there. So they will be able to... whoop, actually, one got a little bit hungry there for some more Stalker blood and got shot down, but King Kong buying some more time. He is able to get that 3rd hatchery back up and running again. The 4th up towards the top end is also back up and running. Interestingly, the drone count right now is sitting at 37. Blisk is just a tiny amount ahead, and he is going to get stormed very soon. It hasn't actually started just yet, but it will be there very, very shortly. 10 drones also about to pop out for King Kong, so he's just going to try and regenerate his economy for just a moment here, and then he can start bringing out some more units. But King Kong is not done with the harassment at the same time, as we can see the big Muta fleet now just poking through, but the Pimp Fist of the Archon says, get out of here. throws down some really big hits here. Of course, these guys do 47 damage to biological units, which is every single muta there. As far as I know, there are no robot mutas. In fact, that would be incredibly imbalanced. But they just force the mutas back for now. And King Kong now needs to be very, very careful. He either needs to start looking at splitting up his mutas, perhaps attacking into the main base here, and doing some damage with just a few of them, or perhaps just, you know, staying away from the Archons. I think that might be the best option, is just to totally avoid these guys, because they will do so much damage here. Blisk trying to add in a few more Archons as well. King Kong just trying to poke around from the top side, but that's not going to happen. And the economy for King Kong now starting to move back into a decent position right now. He's up to 57 drones. We've got a nice amount of gas coming in, which is a very important part, of course. If you want to be able to win this sort of late game stage, you do need to invest in the there's me going, sorry. You do need to invest in some of that late game gas tech, such as the Vipers, or perhaps even some Infestors as well. I would say that in this position, Infestors would be excellent for King Kong to try and invest in, and we may see him go towards that particular tech very soon. But for the moment, just going to continue to grow the muta count. It's up to 33 right now, not too bad at all. With their upgrades, 1, 2, and +2 Carapace is on the way. So, ooh, a bad blink there from Blisk. Unfortunately, just a little bit out of position. He had no vision on the high ground there, and the mutas sweep by and find a couple of stray Stalkers, but the Stalkers reply in turn, able to put a little bit of damage on here. One of these mutas now a little bit low in health, but he is able to regen that very, very quickly. So, Blisk fortifying this third base. He says, you know what, you cannot have this one. I've got 2 mutas in the mineral line. We've got about, what's that, 12 cannons there as well. You're not going to be able to get that base, at least not for the moment here. And King Kong just tries to trade in turn back towards the main base here. A couple of cannons inside the natural as well, but of course there isn't a huge amount of mining going on here. So we'll see what happens. It looks like Blisk has decided to go for broke here for Archons alongside those Stalkers as well. A couple of sentries at the back. The Mothership Core will be here to help out with either a recall. I would assume it'll be a recall. I don't think there's any point in trying to, in fact, go back with you know, a time warp or anything like that, but he actually looks to target down at the Mothership Core, but does not get it. And now we can see inside the third base, King Kong slowly picking apart those units there, tries to pick up one of the Archons. It does a wonderful job splitting up those mutas. Wow, that was actually really impressive there. But now Baneling's just rolling through, and Blisk has, where are the force fields? There we go. Tries to put down the force fields to block out those Banelings, and of course you can see the Banelings just trying to trade with the Stalkers there. Banelings rolling onto an Archon is probably one of the most inefficient things in the entire game, alongside like trying to trade with Thors or something like that. But King Kong gets a decent amount of damage done here on most of the forces, downgrades the Stalker count here. We've just got a low total of 17 Stalkers in the mix for Blisk right now, and he's going to come across, take care of the lair, take care of the Spire as well, but he needs to be aware that those mutas are now just slowly floating about right here, and 4 more just popped out. One of them gets sniped off, another almost goes down as well. The muta count for King Kong now sitting at 32. He has 18 lings now on the way, but of course they won't really do too much. But what they can do is draw the Protoss out of position, and we'll see how Blisk is going to maneuver from here. I'd probably like to see him just take care of the Spire and then the spawning pool as well, and then head home, because he's got a bit of trouble heading on at the natural base here. Pretty much all the remaining tech is now inside this base. Of course, the Templar Archives, and I believe is there no cyber? Where is the... hang on. Where's the structures tab? There it is. I don't actually know. I don't think he has a cyber right now. But we can see that King Kong now picking apart the remaining robo-tech that Blisk would have available. But the Banelings now at the top of the ramp here are going to help to sort of diffuse some of this attack. Trying to come through, taking apart quite a lot of those Stalkers. But nice blink backs, nice blink splits from Blisk there. Very nicely done. And he's decided that it's not a good idea to try and attack into all these Spine Crawlers. So we're just going to attack into the 5th base up the top here. Takes care of some of the drones. The drone count now down to 34, and Blisk, what is he actually going to be able to do this? I'm going to be quite surprised if he is going to be able to save this game from here. Of course, the Archons are such powerful units, but is there going to be enough here? King Kong decides to split up the units now. He's just going to go for broke right now, splitting up everything, just coming right over the top, and the mutas do stack up a little bit, but if they can take care of the Archons, that is effectively game. And 1, 2, 3 of the Archons now going down. Stalker's not high enough in the count to be able to save the day here, and with all of those mutas bearing down, 2-2 on the upgrades, and no real defensive upgrades apart from the +1 on the armor, and that is going to be it. I would say, after a pretty hectic game there. In fact, no, we do have a storm, so Blisk is able to keep himself alive for the moment. Shotgun's down a changeling there, but it looks like he's going to have to long distance mine. There is a cybernetics core. I was going to say, it's probably about time we got to see that coming back, because Blisk is going to have a hard time building any more stalkers if he wants to do that. But as we can see, going to try and rebuild that now. Long distance mining from the natural base. Long distance mining from the natural base. That's quite an interesting phrase to use as a caster, but the mutas now coming through. We'll be able to take care of this last remaining nexus down on the southern side of the map. If they can get rid of this, then the mining of Blisk will pretty much come to a halt. I'd hesitate at the thought of him trying to long distance this all the way back to this nexus, because at the moment he has only got 123 minerals, and that is it. Blisk trying to maneuver into position here to take care of the mutas, but the mutas well spread out by King Kong, picking off stray stalkers every now and then. The stalker count still sitting at 3, not a huge total, but there are still 5 High Templar, 3 Archons, and 16 mutas out of the map. Now, as we can see, more lings now starting, Banelings, sorry, starting to roll their way across the map. King Kong sitting on this this third base for pretty much the entire game right now. He's lost it once or twice, but I think that maybe yet a couple of storms going down. The Archons coming through, getting a couple of good pimp fists down, and some storms mopping up a lot of those. Wow, a lot of the mutas going down. Leaves King Kong with 7 mutas here. The cannon defense at this base is just incredible. It's Fort Knox over here, and I'm struggling to sort of see who is going to win this game right now. I think that King Kong, given that the lead that he has, the economy that he has back at home, he's going to be able to establish, yeah, I was going to say, another hatchery, and that should be it right now. I don't think there is any way for Blisk to be able to come back. If he can, it is an absolute miracle right now, because he's pretty much not mining at all. As we can see, he's got 20 probes right now. Long distance mining from this 4th base. It is a long way to go, and despite the fact that the muta count has been pretty much just completely destroyed, down from somewhere like 33 earlier on in the game, he is about to almost lose it. Yep, loses another muta there, but it's down to 4 from what it was quite a lot earlier, and that is pretty much something that is going to be hard to deal with, given that the muta count is going to start to creep up. In fact, the roach count is what we are going to see from King Kong. He's decided to get up some roaches, of course, with the Banelings there as well. They do have speed. He's now got an economy of 29 drones. You don't often see that at the 36-minute mark, but he has been able to stabilize himself. The roaches and Banes now moving into position here. He knows that the attack is coming through at this, what do we call this, the 3rd base there, and the Banelings just trying to trade through on those Archons. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That was like 20 Banelings or something like that, just trying to roll through. They actually catch the Templar. The Archon's now gone, and GG, well played from FlashBlysk. What an excellent game. Back and forth the entire time. Both the players just effectively trading bases, and we got to see how long a Protoss can sort of sit there on one base with some Templar and some Archons, bouncing around the map with Stalkers, and of course coming in to attack this base multiple times. Cleaned up the natural and the main, and of course this 3rd here as well. But in the end, of course, those mutas, well microed by King Kong, was able to split them up, take care of the Archons from time to time, and then at the end, the transition back down to the low tech, and he was able to finish his opponent off with some roaches and Banelings. Hope you enjoyed that game, guys. It was a pretty cool one. Make sure you stay tuned for more stuff on the channel very soon. I'll catch you all next time. We're not actually going to have a similar sort of build. We got different styles coming out of both of them here. Zerg Buddy picking up a pool pretty quickly along with an extractor as well. So he is going to have very quick Zergling speed here. We'll keep an eye on whether he takes some of these